Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be the Ground Forces Premium Buying Guide for 2025. We've currently got a 50% off sale on all of the GE Premiums, and I assume next week there's going to be discounts on the pack premiums as well. And because I'm sad enough to own pretty much every premium in War Thunder, I thought I'd just go over some of them and give you my opinion. There's going to be a video on ground forces as well as naval. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a plane one because I don't really play planes anymore. So we're going to go nation by nation and rank by rank. I'm going to tell you whether I would buy any of these premiums and what tech tree vehicles I would put a talisman on, as you do also have a 50% off talismans as well. So the M2A4, it's a starter premium. Never really buy rank 1 premiums really, it's not really worth the money, so I'd skip this one. The M3A1 USMC, I don't think you can actually get this anymore. I think it was a pack premium, but it is well worth getting if it does come back on sale. It's a fun little vehicle, 2.3, just a little chill. It's not really for grinding, but it's a good vehicle altogether. The M8 LAC, it's another one of those little troll vehicles. It's one of the only, well, it's got a 50 caliber on the roof as well, which is good enough to kill most vehicles at this battle rating. And it also has a 37mm, which obviously is your main power. But it's a fast little vehicle at 1.0. Well worth the money if it does go. I think it's on the Gaijin marketplace actually, but it is a good vehicle if it ever does come back as a pack. Buying a talisman for a rank 1 vehicle is never really that good of an it's not really a great idea because you may as well just get a rank 2. But if you were going to, I'd either get the M22 Locust or the M3A4 Stuart, both of which are fast with good fast firing guns. Very good for a first grinder. Going to the second rank, we've got the Stuart 6. It's a Canadian vehicle. Not sure if you can get this anymore. Well, like the rank 1 Stuart, it's very fast with a hard hitting gun for the battle rating. Bit of fun, not really going to last you that long, but it is a good overall premium if you can get it. We then have the Grant 1. I'm pretty sure you can't get this in the American tech tree anymore, but it is a good all-round vehicle. 75mm gun with a 37mm on top. Battle rating 2.7 is very good for the USA, and a lot of people actually struggle to kill the Grant. They don't really know where to shoot it, so it is a good vehicle altogether. One of the best premiums in the game for trolling and have a bit of fun is the M8A1 GMC. This has got the Sherman 75mm gun at a much lower battle rating of 2.7 with a very fast chassis from the Stuarts. The only downside is the very low turret traverse because it is a manual crank rather than electric. We can simply just rotate the hull. This is available on the Gaijin marketplace, but it is well worth the money if it is ever cheap. I think it's like 50 Gaijin coins at the minute, which is a little bit pricey, but it is good fun. Then have the M4A5 Ram. I again think this is only available in the British tech tree now, but it is a good vehicle, very high penning gun at battle rating 3.7 with the 57mm 6-pounder. You get about 120mm to pen at 3.7. Very good grinder, but that's more for the British tech tree now. In the second rank of the US tech tree, I'd either put a talisman on either the M4A1 or the M4A, but you're basically better staying at 3.7 or 2.7. So you got a choice between the M3 Elite, M5A1, and then the M4, because you got like the M24 as well. But again, not really worth putting a premium on a rank 2 vehicle. I think I got this talisman in like a random box thing. Then move on to rank 3. First of all, we got the Calliope. It's not worth the money. It's just an M4 premium with a massive ammo rack on the roof, so not worth it. The T14 is a good little grinder if you do get a down tier, but in an up tier to 5.7 it can be a little bit brutal. At half price though, I'd say you can't really go wrong in my opinion. Then have the Cobra King. This is kind of past the prime of the Sherman Jumbos now really. The 75mm gun at a battle rating 5.7 is a little anemic, especially in an up tier to 6.7 you are kind of just pissing into the wind really. One of the issues I have is because I bought all these premiums so long ago, I can't remember the price anymore. So at half price, it's good at your own battle rating. Maybe if you get this vehicle, maybe only spawn it if you get like a down tier or your own battle rating. If it's an up tier, just don't even bother with it. We then have the triple pack. You got the Sherman HVSS, you've got the Hellcat as well as the Skink. It's a pretty good starter deal, but you'll notice that all three of these vehicles have different battle ratings. The Hellcat is pretty good at 6.0, the HVSS Sherman not so much, to be honest with you. You're better just staying at a lower battle rating really for the Americans, or going up in battle rating to 7.0, which we'll see soon. I wouldn't really recommend this pack. I don't really think it's great for newer players. The Hellcat's good, but the other two are kind of just meh. If you can still get it, the M18 Black Cat, like the Sherman pack, you're probably just better getting that. It's probably about the same price. It's just an M18 Hellcat with a premium skin, kind of. I think it's only available on Steam, if I remember correctly, but not really worth it now that you've got the Sherman pack for probably a few quid more. Definitely one of the underplayed lineups in the US tech tree is going to be battle rating 5.3. So I'd highly recommend either putting a talisman on the M4A2, the M36 GMC. And if you want a bit of fun, the M44 and the M55 are very, very good to play. You would have to kind of down tier the vehicles a little bit to like the rank 2s, but the M44 can kill pretty much anything you shoot at it. Probably not going to be a reliable grinder, but it is very, very good once you get the aim down on it. Okay, so for rank 6 we start off with the Super Hellcat. This is the Hellcat chassis with the 90mm gun. You get the M82 nuke shell with 140 grams of TNT filler, which is very good if you manage to penetrate. It's a pretty good vehicle altogether. I wouldn't really recommend it at 6.3. 7.0 is really where it's at in the US tech tree, and I'm probably going to give the same answer for quite a lot of these next few premiums. The T28 is one of the only premiums that I don't currently own. That's mainly because it's just big and slow. It's got a very punchy gun, but I feel it's kind of limited by its lack of mobility. So it's like a derp gun type thing. I wouldn't really recommend it for actually grinding. Then have the T20. This is a medium tank with the 76mm gun on the more modernized Shermans. Like the Shermans, it does get a vertical stabilizer, meaning it is pretty good for brawling. But once again, it is overshadowed by the 7.0 American lineup, so I wouldn't really think it's a great investment. Same as the Calliope, the M26 T99 is just pretty abysmal, to be honest. It's a Pershing that's already pretty bad, with 2 massive ammo racks either side of it, which obviously significantly reduces your crew's survivability. The T30, it is a event vehicle. It's got a big 155mm gun. Used to be good for trolling people, but again, you've got the bigger brother, the T29, at a higher battle rating and a much better gun. I think it's only available on the marketplace now, but it's not really worth it. It's like 150 Gaijin coins just for the meme vehicle, really. Then have the M26E1. Not sure if you can still buy this currently, but it's got the longer barrel 90mm gun found on the Super Pershing, but on a regular Pershing hull and turret. So it deals with one of the biggest issues of the Pershing, which is the kind of mediocre firepower, but you do have quite a long reload. It's not really competitive. It's not really worth your money, to be honest. Again, 7.0 is much better. Speaking of which, we come on to our 2 stars of the 4th rank of the US tech tree, which is the M46 Tiger, as well as the T29. The T29 is available on the Gaijin store in a pack, whereas the M46 Tiger, I'm pretty sure, is a Golden Eagle premium, and it is well worth your money, mainly due to the fantastic firepower in the form of the M82, which has better post-pen damage. But you also get the M348 with 305mm of penetration, making it very, very versatile, and it can lol pen any of the big German Tigers. The T29, on the other hand, is slower but a lot better armoured, and it also has a 105mm gun with a massive stinking APC BC round with 250mm of pen and 180 grams of TNT filler, making it very, very potent for brawling on the tighter maps. In terms of rank for talismans, I'd go with either the M46, which is basically a tech tree version of the Tiger, or the T92, which gets a very potent saber round at battle rating 7.0, as well as a heater vest round as well, actually. Come on to rank 5. First of all, you got the M728. This is pretty much abysmal dog shit. Don't even waste your money. The T114 has got a buff recently, and it is quite good at 7.7, but again, I don't really see a reason to spend more money on this when you could just stick at 7.0, other than the fact that the T114 can of course research the rank 6, but I don't think it's the main spawn of a lineup, to be honest. The T54E2 is a worse version of the T54E1 in every way, so not even worth your money. You can't get the Magak 3 ERA anymore because it's in the Israeli tech tree. The T54E1 is actually a pretty decent vehicle in terms of actually getting kills, but it doesn't have a stabilized gun at battle rating 8.0, which is going to limit your ability to compete with the average gun of the battle rating. But it does have a 105mm gun with some very good ammunition choices. You've got a heater vest round with 380mm of pen, as well as a saber round with 430mm. The gun as well has an autoloader, which gives you a fire rate of, well, you can reload every 5 seconds, so very, very good reload, but you do have a unstabilized gun, and your armor is of course, I believe, using the M48 hull, but it does kind of limit your mobility quite a bit. The best premium for rank 5 is of course going to be the newest T58 pack. This is available on the Gaijin store and will probably be going on sale in the next week or so. Maybe not actually, because it is quite new. But if you're watching this in the future in a couple of years time, it probably is worth your money if it is half price or 30% off. You do have a very good lineup using the rank 6 8.3 vehicles like the XM246, the Starship, the M60 AOS, all great vehicles at 8.3. Rank 5 of the US tech tree is by far the worst rank in America, so it's kind of hard to recommend a talisman I probably would just skip them all, to be honest with you. Going into rank 6, and we only have one premium, that is the XM1. I think you can still get this, but I do remember they removed it, maybe. I can't quite remember. But it has seen quite a bit of a resurgence recently. The top tier premiums have all been moved up to like 10.7 now, apart from the Wolf Pack, but you don't get up tiered to 10.7 anymore, which gives the XM1 quite a lot of breathing room, especially considering you've got the TTS as well as the MBT70 as backup, which are both very good vehicles, albeit they do have quite different playstyles, but they are map dependent. TTS for city maps, MBT70 for long range, covering distance, firing on the move kind of thing. So at half price, the XM1, well worth the money. If you are going to use a talisman, MBT70, obvious choice. If you're watching this in the future, a talisman on the Stingray as well may also be a good shout, because it does get DM33 and it is fast with a fairly fast firing gun as well. Moving on to rank 7, first up we have the M11128 Wolfpack. This is pretty decent for long range sniping, but it isn't really something I'd recommend for a newer player. It's not reliable, it's not really suited to the majority of maps in War Thunder, so I'd probably give this a skip unless you just really like the vehicle for some reason. Then have the M1 KVT. This thing is very fast, but it does have mediocre armor, firepower and fire control in my opinion. The thermal imagery is only Gen 1, the saber round is actually pretty mid, to be honest. M74, kind of a little bit goofy. Very good on brawling maps, you can cover distance very fast. It's probably your best all round premium grinder at top tier for the Americans. And at 10.7 it now no longer sees an up tier to 11.7 because all the other premium tanks have been moved up to 12.0 now, so it does give you a bit of a breathing room at 10.7, where you can take it alongside the Tech Tree Abrams, the 120S, the M3A3 Bradley. We then have two more premiums to cover. We have the M1A1 Clickbait. This again is actually a pretty good premium now. It sits at battle rating 12.0, which does mean it is top tier, which means you're going to be facing some very sweaty opponents. Doesn't really suit it well for newer players, but it is fast with reliable armor with a very powerful main gun. But for a newer player, the M1 KVT is just going to be the better choice. It's a bit more forgiving at 10.7. The last premium is then the RDF LT. This is just not even worth it for a newer player. It's not really worth it for a high skill player, quote unquote. It's got a pretty decent gun, but the HSTVL is much better in my opinion. For a rank 7 talisman, the two standout choices are going to be the 120S or the M1 Abrams. The 120S has a M60 hull but a M1A1 heavy common turret, I believe, with that very powerful M829A1 ammunition. 600mm of pen at 10.3 is basically low pen territory on everything. Very good premium. I guess finally you should say the M1A1 anime Weeaboo edition. It's just the exact same as the Clickbait, so you're better off getting the Clickbait in my opinion. We then move on to Germany. Up first, Panzer II-C DAK. Very good premium, highly recommend it. The Studerbridge 25110, whatever it's called, not really worth it on the marketplace. The Germany, name your vehicles better. This thing's actually pretty decent at 1.3, but it's not really worth the money because you're not really going to grind with it. We can troll people using this thing. The SDKVS2341-1, like the DAK, very powerful. If you do own this vehicle alongside the DAK, you can just go and terrorize new players. Very fast firing 20mm cannon. Of course, using that Panzergranat 40 round with 48mm of pen, and some pretty decent post-pen damage as well due to the massive, well, relatively big bursting charge. The other vehicle is the SAKVS 141, same gun and turret basically as this vehicle but in a tracked variant. These three vehicles are just a terror of low tier Germany, very powerful indeed. You also have the 234/3, which has a short barrel 75mm howitzer. Again, very fast, very powerful, but most of these are marketplace vehicles. Not really worth the money now because they're quite high in price, but this thing is a pack. I believe it's it's worth it if it comes back on sale. In terms of a talisman for rank 1, the Panzer 38Ts are well worth it. This is because these vehicles, I believe, get a short stabilizer, giving you a little bit of flexibility in the lower tiers of the German tech tree. Rank 2 Germany, your best choice is going to be this thing, I can't pronounce it, Sonderfallgestell 901. Very good gun at 2.7, very fast, very small, you can kind of like troll people, kind of like the German Locust in a way. The post-pen damage on the 50mm isn't amazing, but it is pretty reliable to be honest, especially at these lower tiers. The Nebelwerfer, not worth it at all, just a complete meme vehicle, not worth it, don't even bother. This thing, pretty good on the marketplace, got the pack 40L3 type gun. Very, I think it's got 150mm of pen. Very good gun, but you're kind of limited by the half-track chassis, can't really rotate. Good tank destroyer, but not really worth the Gaijin coins. The Panzer IIIN, obviously a Panzer III using the 75mm howitzer. Very good heat round. Very low muzzle velocity though, of only 450 meters per second, makes it quite hard to actually kill people when they're moving. But about 900 grams of TNT filler. Get one-shot kills pretty frequently, but it is just hard to aim, so not really worth it for a newer player. But you can absolutely build a massive lineup around a 3.0. You got the Panzer IIIL. Not really worth going up to 3.3 with the Panzer IIIM in my opinion. You want to stay at 3.0 with this kind of tier around Germany. You kind of use like the Marders are very good. The Stug, Stug, not the Stug. Stay at 3.0 in rank 2, you can't go wrong really. In terms of talismans, Panzer IIIL, no brainer. Panzer III J1, got the longer barrel 50, the Stuff 42 as well as the Panzer IIIH, both fantastic vehicles as well for grinding. Just don't be tempted to go to 3.3 because it brings you up to 4.3 and you will have a bad time. Rank 3 Germany, got the KV2, not really worth it, it's a meme vehicle. The German Sherman, well worth it if they ever bring this back on sale. It's one of the, well, it was the first pre-order I think for War from the Ground Forces many years ago. Not as dominant as it used to be, I will be honest, but it is very good fun. The Command Panzer IV, it's not got an electric turret drive, so its turret rotation speed is a bit crap. Half price, I wouldn't really recommend it to be honest. You better going up to 4.0 or 4.3. This thing is a beast which we'll get to. The KV-1B, again, like the German Sherman, very good fun. Lots of add-on armour, quite hard to be penetrated at this battle rating. It's only a marketplace vehicle though, I believe, so I don't think you can get it. Might even be a pack premium as well that I don't bring back anymore. German Churchill got the 57mm 6-pounder gun, 122mm of pen, 130 sorry. Very good for battle rating 4.0. The mobility and survivability is obviously pretty bad. The armour is nominally thick, but practically it's just flat plate armour so people can penetrate it. But you buy this vehicle for the gun mainly, not the armour. But good at 4.0. The best premium though for this rank is going to be the T-34 747. I believe this was recently moved from rank 2 up to rank 3, which means you can now use it for grinding out the event vehicles, which is very good. The only downside at 4.3 is the kind of lack of a lineup. You've got the Panzer IVs and the 38T, which are still very good, but you can just use like the M44, which is a beast of course. But at 4.3 you avoid quite a lot of the harsh up tiers to 5.7 in other nations. So 4.3 is kind of a sweet spot in my opinion. Again, I can't remember the price of this, but it's well worth it, 50% off if you can buy it. The Pack Puma, obviously 200 Gaijin coins, not worth it at the minute. This thing's not worth it on the store either. It's got a thick frontal plate, but it's only 100mm thick compared to this thing which is 200. Not really worth it. Brumbar, not really worth it for grinding, obviously massive 150mm howitzer type rocket thing. Kind of like the Sturmtiger, but not as powerful. Not worth it. VFW, very good vehicle, but it's way too expensive on the Gaijin marketplace at the minute. But absolutely meme vehicle. Got the order, well, Might Goes Boom, obviously. Very funny. Panzer 470A, very good vehicle actually, but you just have to hide its massive chin at the front. Obviously, if you get shot here, it's just flat armour and it's easy kill. Do have to be a bit of a bush monster with that. It does complement the T-34 747 if you do get them both together. Again, I can't remember any of the Golden Eagle prices and I'm not looking up the price of every bloody vehicle in the game. But it's a good vehicle overall. The Tiger Premium Pack, I'd say that this is well worth the money for about 40 quid, $40, whatever it is. You get 3 very good vehicles at 5.7. Just be aware you are going to see quite a lot of up tiers to 6, 7 against the early Tigers and stuff. Well, the late war Tigers, I guess, actually. But the early Tiger 2s, shall we say. A premium that used to be really good when it was 4.7 is the KV-1C. This thing is a captured KV-1, which was fitted with a Pack 40 L48 gun. At 5.0, it's still pretty decent, but obviously you don't really have much of a lineup, and you're going to get a lot of up tiers to 6.0, which kind of ruins it for me. I'd just stick at 4.3. You avoid the 5-7 lineup up tiers. Saying that though, if you are going to talisman anything in the rank 3 of Germany, maybe the VK302 for a little bit of a fast flanker, the Tiger 1 H1, E-Tiger E, stuff like that. Don't overlook the M44 either. Very good vehicles. Moving up into rank 4, we have the Panzer Beth-Wagen, whatever it's called. Not really worth it, I'll be honest with you. It's a bit more mobile than the Tiger 1, I believe. It's got thicker frontal armour as well. But the problem is that if you angle this, you kind of expose this flat part. So there's no real easy way to hide your rank. Well, if you get an up tier, people can just go straight through, and if you try to angle, you kind of expose this flat armour. which means it can go through even easier. Same gun as the Tiger E though, I believe. Then have the Sturm Tiger. I don't know if you can get this anymore, but obviously a meme vehicle, not really for grinding. Don't know what this thing is, but it's a recoilless gun, so I automatically just assume it's useless. The Jagdpanzer G1. I remember buying this quite a while ago, never really used it, as you can probably see from my free repairs. I've only played 17 games in it. It's a pretty decent like third or fourth spawn, but not really something you want to be building a lineup around. Then have the Tiger 2 SLA-16, the God, one of the best premiums in the game, or it used to be. I haven't played it in a while though, I will be honest with you. But this thing grinded out the majority of the German tech tree for me many years ago. I'd say it's well worth the money if it goes on sale next week in a pack premium. There's nothing really better in my opinion. 6.7 is pretty good for the Germans. You've got quite a dense selection of vehicles. It has been getting bullied quite recently by the 7.3 and the 7.7 Soviet lineup, but 6.7 Germany is still reliable. Then have the Elephant, which was a reward for Battle Pass a couple of years ago. Not really worth it, same as the Jagdpanzer. Big and heavy, not really flexible enough for a premium grinder, especially if you can only afford one. Then have the RU251. This thing used to be the terror of battle rating 6.7, but now it has gone up to 7.3, where it has kind of been overshadowed now. I wouldn't really recommend up-tiering your lineup to 7.3 when you could just keep it at 6.7, but it does have a very good heater fast round M431 with 320mm of penetration, but again, not really worth it. Obviously, if you're going to buy a talisman, just go for the Tiger 2. Simple, well, easy choice in my opinion. Then come on to the 5th rank of the German tech tree, M47, not really great in my opinion. Clovis, pretty good gun with an autoloader, doesn't get any sort of thermals or stabilizer, which can mean it's a little bit awkward on some maps, but you do get a laser rangefinder, which is it's kind of unique at this battle rating. The heat round, it's not heater fast, that's the other thing to bear in mind. It's still a pretty decent round though, I'll be honest. I've had a lot of fun playing the Clovis in the French tech tree. I don't know if it'll go on sale because it is quite a recent packed premium, but it is a decent overall vehicle at 8.0. But it's overshadowed massively by the Term 3. This thing is absolute terror. It has a auto-loaded 105mm gun with DM13, HESH as well as DM12. And you also get a 30mm cannon with high explosive incendiary tracer as well as semi-armor piercing, with 2 inches of penetration. So the Term 3 is the obvious choice for rank 5, it's not even close really. For talismans, I'd either go for maybe the BMP one. You're probably better going for the Marmada or the DF105, if not the Leopard one. Rank 6 has 2 fantastic premiums, both of which are battle rating 9.3. First of all, you've got the TAM2 IP, which has the better gun in my opinion. Get DM33 with a huge amount of penetration, as well as a laser rangefinder, but you don't get any sort of thermal imager. The Leopard A1A1L44 gets a 120mm gun with DM13, which does have just under 400mm of pen to be fair, but it does get first gen thermals. It's up to you what you really want to here. I think the TAM2 is probably a much better vehicle. It's a bit faster, better gun, just don't have thermals. In terms of a talisman, I would actually avoid the Beglite Panzer now it's gone to 9.7. A 9.7 lineup will get you dragged up to 10.7 obviously, so you better stick in at 9.3. Put a talisman on the T72M1, very good vehicle, as well as the KPZ70, again 9.3, very good lineup for the Germans at 9.3. Even Leopard 1A5, this thing gets DM33 and thermal images, very good flexible vehicle. So Leopard 1A5, T72M1, KPZ70, that would be my pick for a talisman. Then come on to rank 7, and had a stroke. Up first, we've got the Leopard 2A4M, modernised Leopard 2A4. Obviously, it gets the KEW round. Not really sure what nationality that is, but 580mm of pen and second gen thermals. Pretty good vehicle to be honest. It is just a Leopard 2A4 beyond this, so it's not exactly got very good survivability in my opinion. This is just kind of like a add-on package that makes it look modern but doesn't really do anything. The other choice, of course, is the Leopard 2 Panzer Battalion 123. This is just an unmodernised Leopard 2A4, which gets a pretty decent black camouflage. I think it does anyway. It is a little bit limited by its first gen thermals and the DM23, which is it's alright. It's just meagre in my opinion. But you do have a very good lineup at battle rating 10.7. You've got SPAAs for days, missile ones. You've got the Gepard 1A2, the Tetri 2A4, the 2K, as well as all the Pumas and the Radkampfwagen and stuff like that. Very strong lineup at 10.7 in my opinion. Again, for a talisman, I'd go the Leopard 2A4, the Leopard 2K. It's up to you really. Something that I will say though is that the Leopard 2 Poland is getting DM50, well, it does have DM53 now. So putting a talisman on the Leopard 2 PL, like, it might just be a better choice, to be honest, than buying a premium. Obviously, you won't be able to grind out all this stuff, but you can grind out, I believe, ranks 6 or 7 to 8, maybe, something like that. Alright, so for the Soviets, T26, rank 1, not really worth it. Not sure what this is, but probably not worth it. RBB5T, this is a very, very good meme vehicle. I don't have it, but it does have two 250 kilo like bombs on the top, and you can fire them like a missile. Very, very good for trolling, but I've only ever used it on a test drive. T35, the land battleship, I think it was called or something. Kind of a bit of a meme vehicle, not really worth it for grinding at 1.3 in my opinion. BA11, which was a World War event vehicle. Very rare actually, you never see these in game, but not really worth it. I think it's got a T26 turret on the top. The SU-57, this is a tracked American M3 half-track. It's got the 57mm cannon. Pretty decent penetration for the battle rating to be fair, but it's very limited in terms of mobility, but it does have good firepower. Wouldn't really say it's worth it in my opinion. The BM8 basically uses rockets on the roof, not really good at all for grinding, very unreliable grinder. Definitely not worth 4,000 Golden Eagles without a sale, and it's not even worth that on a 50% discount. Then have the T3, which is a captured Panzer III. It's got the stubby L42 50mm gun. Got a pretty meager muzzle velocity and only 80mm of penetration, but it's a pretty decent reliable. It's probably the best of the rank 1 premiums, but you're probably better getting, well, saving a bit of money and getting a rank 2. In terms of talismans, I'll probably go with the BT7M or the BT7, but neither of those are really great choices in my opinion. The BT7M is a good vehicle, but it's not really got a lineup at this lower battle rating. Probably better just saving your money and going for a rank 2. Speaking of which, we have the ZUT-37. This is an SPAA vehicle. Well, due to its very, well, it's got a kind of slow rate of fire, but it does have quite a high penning gun. So it does kind of play more of like a tank destroyer, like a mini ZSU 57-2 kind of. Not really that effective. I believe the turret rotation speed is pretty poor, which makes it quite unsuitable for actually, you can't like run rings around people and shoot the sides in it, I'll just put it that way. That's the reason I've never bought it. It's kind of underwhelming. I've obviously never bought it. So T126, quite good armor, quite fast, but kind of like a pop gun on it. Pretty decent for the price. It's not really the best choice you can get here. This thing is a meme, it looks absolutely abysmal, don't even waste your money. BT7A with the F32 gun, very, very good. It's got pretty decent penetration, I believe, 77, 87. This thing used to be like the terror. People would spawn these into top tier and like wait on the edge of a corner and shoot people in the side and get the like under tier perk, whatever it's called. Rank does not matter maybe. Very, very good vehicle. It has gone up in battle rating to 4.0 and it is only available on the marketplace. Actually, I'm not really sure of the price at the minute. M3 Medium, again, another marketplace vehicle. I don't remember the price, but I think it is like 70 Gaijin coins, which is a bit too much to be honest. The SMK is actually a pretty decent vehicle. You've got a 3-inch gun as well as like a 4.8-inch gun or something like that. It's pretty decent, it's quite survivable, but it's absolutely massive and not particularly that effective. We then have the T-34 First Guards Tank Battalion, maybe something like that. Not really worth it anymore. It's one of those like original vehicles with like a unique camouflage. Doesn't really do anything whatsoever in terms of gameplay. Probably give that one a skip, especially when the T-34E is at the same battle rating but with much better armor. But again, that's a marketplace vehicle. The price fluctuates, but it's a lot better than that thing anyway. Same for the Mark II Matilda. It is a it is a marketplace vehicle where the price is very, very high, I believe. They might even be sold out of them. I've not seen them on for a while. But it's got the T-34 gun instead of the 40mm gun on the original Matilda. We then have the Valentine. This is it only available for Valentine's Day basically, but it is a very good vehicle if you can get it. Then I have the SU-85A Festive Quest Reward. I don't think you can get this anymore, but it's a pretty potent gun, but obviously tank destroyer, kind of limited by its hull. In terms of talismans, you can kind of take your pick really. They're all pretty good. 2.3 is a standout lineup for the Soviets here in rank 2. But don't sleep on the T-34, the 1942 editions, the one with the upgraded turret. Very, very good vehicles, these. Moving on to rank 3, we start with the Katyusha. Well, it's not the Katyusha, but I don't even think you can get this anymore. It's got like 10 massive rocket things. Pretty decent for the start of a match just to fire them at the enemy spawn, but again, not a premium grinder really, just like a meme vehicle. KV2 1940, very, very rare. You're probably never going to get this for under 100 Gaijin coins, so why even bother? The standout grinder for the Soviets around here is going to be the T-34 57. This used to be the absolute terrorizer of battle rating 4.3. It is still powerful even though it has been up tiered to 4.7. Well worth the money in my opinion. Something I'd skip now is the KV-1E. People know how to counter it now really. It does get additional armor, but your gun is absolutely dog shit. Only 87mm of pen at 4.3. So if you get up tiered to 5.3, you're kind of shit out of luck really. The box tank, the SU-100Y, it's got a 130mm naval gun on it. Very, very powerful, but you're very, very limited by your huge girth, shall we say. You're not exactly mobile or flexible. You then have another triple pack with the IS-1, the T-34-85 and the Hanamag 45. The T-34 and the IS-1 are both pretty good vehicles at 5.7, but they do get up to 6.7 quite a lot, where they will suffer against the German Tiger IIs. Because of that, I'd recommend not really playing these. I'd either stick at 4.7 with the T-34-57 or stick at 5.3 where you avoid the 6.7 lineup altogether. The M4A2 is actually 5.3, which does mean you will miss that lineup, but it's an alright vehicle, but it's not particularly that amazing. Probably skip that one as well, to be honest. The KV-2 ZiS 6, it uses obviously the KV-2 hull and turret, but instead of the 152mm derp gun, it's using a longer barreled 107mm gun. It does have pretty decent penetration with just over 6 inches of penetration with 440 grams of TNT filler. It's a very, very good gun, but it's limited by the portrait. It's got very bad gun depression, sorry, and it's obviously a very high vehicle, so it's quite hard to shoot down at people. In terms of talismans, I'd highly recommend, as I said, sticking at either 4.7 with the T-34-57 or the 5.3 Soviet lineup with like the T-34 85 D5T or the Panzer 76B. You don't really want to be going to 5.7 in my opinion, but 4.7, 4.3, 5.3, all great lineups for the Soviets around this battle rating. Going up to rank 4, you got the KV-122. If you've ever played World of Tanks, this is like the KV-1S, the thing that I used to absolutely club at rank 6, if you remember those days. Not really that good in War Thunder. You got the IS-2 gun on a IS-1 hull, I believe, or a KV hull. Very long reload, very good gun-ish. Only got the early model of the 471. But pretty decent gun, but it's just got a very long reload, 20-second reload with an ace crew. Not really worth it as a grinder. It does fit into that 5.3 lineup though, I guess. You then have the Bully of 6.0, the KV-220. You've got 100mm of armor pretty much everywhere, angled quite well, using the 85mm D something gun, I can't remember it. The round is pretty decent, 135mm of pen. Not amazing, but it does have quite a high bursting charge with just under 170 grams. This thing used to absolutely terrorize the Tiger 1 players. At 6.0, it's pretty decent, especially if paired with the T5 and a few other vehicles, but you do get up tiered quite frequently, which does kind of balance the vehicle out quite a bit. Then have a very old premium, which is a T-34-85E. This basically has bed frames welded onto the side of it, giving you a bit of protection, in theory at least. In War Thunder, it doesn't really do anything other than make you look like you've just driven through a scrapyard. Not sure if it's still for sale for Golden Eagles, but it is worth it on a half price, I guess. The T5 captured Panzer 5. It is pretty decent at 6.0, but it is only available on the Gaijin marketplace at the minute, where its price does fluctuate, but it's about 80 Gaijin coins, so it's not worth it at the minute. SU-122P, I can't remember what is unique about this vehicle, but it does have the same high power gun. It does get the D model of the B471, giving it 230mm of penetration. Very, very good gun, but it's limited by its mobility and it's a tank destroyer, and it's 5.7, so not really worth the money. Definitely not as a first spawn. A pretty underlooked vehicle is the T-44-122. This is very, very fast with pretty decent armor protection, as long as you don't shoot you here, which is kind of flat. The gun as well is actually pretty good, the B471B. It's basically the 122mm. The problem is that the reload rate is very, very long. As you can see, 23 seconds. So it's good for driving up to someone, shooting them, getting the kill. But then you're kind of just out of the action for a minute, or half a minute at least, which just kind of limits its flexibility. A vehicle that I used to grind quite a lot back in the day is the T-34-100. This uses a 100mm gun in place of the 85mm with the BR-412D shell. Very, very powerful gun. As you'd imagine though, the turret, or the gun depression is only -3, which does limit your ability to use this aggressively on any sort of rolling hills. But very, very good for city maps. The reload time as well of 11.5 seconds with an ace crew. It's workable, but it does limit you a little bit. Then have the IS-2 Revenge. Again, I'm not sure if you can actually get this anymore, but it does get the Dushk on the roof, which is a big help at 6.7. It's a pretty good vehicle. I'd probably say it's probably better in the meta right now compared to the T34-100. Yeah, I'd say it's worth it for half price. The 248, which is an event vehicle reward the last couple of years, is on the marketplace now for quite a bit of money, so it's probably not worth it. In terms of talismans, there's nothing really standing out to me. I guess maybe the IS-2 1944 with the Dushk on the roof and the angled frontal armour a bit, but I'd probably just save your money, to be honest. Rank 5 has several fantastic options, but let's be serious, the only one you're going to get is the T055. Ironically enough, it's the only one that I don't purchase, mainly because I have pretty much every Soviet vehicle now, so there's no point really me buying it. So this thing, it's just get this at half price, it's not even a question. We also have the IS-6, which is kind of hit and miss. It's got very bad gun depression, very long reload, but it's quite fast with very, very good armour. If the T055 didn't exist, then the IS-6 would be a fantastic choice, but you may as well just get the T055. It's better in literally every way, and it's only 0.3 battle rating higher with a much better gun. You just don't get the Sabo round for it. The other video is the Object 120. This thing has a massive 152mm gun with heater fast, Sabo and high explosive, all three of which are fantastic choices of ammunition. Again, because of the existence of the T055, not really much point picking it up in my opinion. Same for the talismans. I don't really think there's any good choices in the 5th rank of the Soviet tech tree. They're all just kind of mid. You're better waiting for rank 6 where the Soviets start to really shine. First premium that is pretty good is the Object 140. This uses the 100mm gun that was going to be used on basically the T64 until they got the 115. I think it was the Object 430 that used this gun or something, if I remember correctly. But very, very good rifled gun. You got the D54 AP round with 100 grams of TNT and 290mm of penetration. You also got a pretty decent gun as well. You got like a 14mm coax gun or something on the roof, pintle mount. I really like this vehicle. It's got a very, very good gun, very high rate of fire. You also have two other choices. You have the T55 AM1. This thing used to be really, really good and it is well worth the money, but it is now overshadowed by the BMD 4M, which is just better in pretty much every way, especially if you're good at pulling light tanks. I do highly doubt that it will be on sale though, because it is quite a recent premium and it is making Gaijin quite a lot of money. Also worth pointing out, you can get a Tech Tree BMD 4M here, which granted does have less ATGMs, and the premium one is better. The only downside of the BMD M4 is that it is 9.7, whereas most of the best vehicles in the Soviet rank 6 is going to be at battle rating 9.3. Same reason is you don't really want to up tier to 10.7. Like this thing will never see the 10.7 lineup of the Americans or the Germans, for example, which makes it very, very cozy for grinding. Adding the BMD 4M would put it at 9.7, which can get you a 10.7 up tier, which does kind of ruin it in my opinion. So it is actually quite hard to recommend a rank 6 premium. The BMD 4M is by far the best choice, but it does mean you are going to be seeing a lot of up tiers. Obviously, apart from the T64B, there's no other 9.7 at rank 6. Well, apart from the Tech Tree BMD, but you know what I mean. I think you better stay in at 9.3 in my opinion with the T72A, the T64A. You also got like the BMP3 and this thing. I don't really see the reason to go to 9.7. Well, the Object 140 is a favourite of mine. It's just good fun all round. T55 AM1 as well, absolute bully. Very still worth the money, both these premiums. For talismans, T72A, very, very good. T64A, good. Moving on to rank 7, we have quite a few to cover. First up, we have the 2S38. This is a Army Air Defence vehicle, 57mm gun. Very, very good firepower and optics, good thermals, good Sabo as well. It's worth the money, but it is a bit of cancer at top tier. We also have the T72AV Terms, the workhorse of the Soviet tech tree. Very, very good thermal imager, but let down by the mobility and the armour. It's pretty much very easy to kill now for every 10.7 vehicle. The new workhorse of the Soviets is going to be the T80UD. This is basically all the advantages of the T72AV Terms, with the exception of the lack of a thermal imager. It still does get a 3BM42 Mango, as well as a Razor rangefinder and very, very good protection. Just bear in mind that both these vehicles do have terrible reverse speeds. Overall though, the T72AV Terms is probably the better option for longer range engagements, with the T80UD better for brawling, that sort of stuff. The final two premiums are the T80 UE1s. This is the Weeb version, this is the regular version. I'll be honest, I can't remember the makeup of the T80 UE1s. I think they were modernized T80s used, but they didn't get the more modern autoloader. Because of that, you cannot fire the 3BM60. You only have 3BM46, which is still more than good enough in my opinion at 12.0. But very, very good second gen thermal imager. Laser rangefinder, you've got the 9M119. Very good overall altogether. If you're a good player, the T80UE1 is obviously the better choice, but the T80UD, the T72AV terms, and the 2S38 at 10.3, if you own all three of these will get you through the Soviet tech tree incredibly quickly. But bear in mind, I think these two are Golden Eagle premiums. This is the pack premium, but all three are worth it. And the T80U as well. Obviously it is worth it, but I think these three together in a lineup will do a lot better than just the T80U, in my opinion anyway. In terms of a talisman, something that is very, very slept on is the T72B 1989. This vehicle basically gets the Contact 5 ERA, which gives you a lot of protection against both chemical and kinetic. You get it on the sides as well and on the turret front, so it gives you incredibly good protection from incoming weapons. You do get the 3BM42 Mango as well, I haven't unlocked it yet. The only real downside is the lack of a thermal imager and the somewhat lacking reverse speed, so I would get that on the talisman if I was you. It's also the same battle rating as both the terms T80UD and the 2S38, which does give you an incredibly potent lineup at 10.3. If you want to up tier it to 10.7, then I would recommend talismaning the T80B. Obviously you get much better mobility with the T80B chassis. You still only get 3BM42 Mango, but you do now get a thermal imager as well. And because all of the top tier premiums have now been moved from 11.7 to 12.0, all of these vehicles will avoid massive up tiers, which makes it pretty cozy. But again, the 10.3 lineup is my first choice, with 10.7 kind of being an afterthought. But then come on to the British, starting with the A13 Mark 1, pretty much a 40mm pop gun. I wouldn't really recommend it. Same for the A13 Mark 2, sorry. Same pop gun with a little bit better armor. Both these vehicles are fast, but not really worth the money. Independent, I think it is quite expensive, to be honest. I bought this to review it, but it's a pretty decent gun on it, but it's got very low penetration if I remember correctly, 49mm. It does kind of seal club though, because it is obviously quite big, but not really worth the money for actually grinding. The Electo was a event vehicle, which has a howitzer, pretty good on the marketplace, but again, not really worth it for grinding. A slept on vehicle though is the Saint. This has got a pretty decent quick firing 2-pounder gun. You can either choose between the AP HE round with 66mm of pen, which isn't really great, but if you do penetrate, you do kill pretty much anything at 2.7. You do also have the solid shot round with 89mm of pen. Obviously very limited post-pen damage, but both these shells are pretty good. I do tend to use the APCBC though, the solid shot. At 2.7, can't really go wrong, very strong lineup for the British. Same for the Grant 1, I'm not really sure if this is, well, it's an event vehicle, so it only be available on the marketplace. Pretty good alongside the Saint, but I think it is much more expensive than obviously the Crusader. The AEC is only available on the marketplace, where it is a very, very good weapon. It's got the 57mm 6-pounder in a much more mobile chassis. So Shot Mark 9, 130mm of pen. It's a very good vehicle this. Not many people play it because it is a very, very rare vehicle. But if it ever does go cheap on the marketplace, I would pick it up, especially if you are a collector. The Matilda Hedgehog, obviously just a regular Matilda with the anti-submarine Hedgehog mines for some reason. Pretty decent vehicle at 2.7. These three vehicles have a very, very strong lineup, especially with like the Avery Petard as well. Got a very good lineup at 2.7, but it's not really worth it, I don't think. Again, you got a pretty decent gun, same as the Crusader. You got the Crusader for speed, you got the Matilda for survivability, the Grant for a bit of an all-rounder. I don't really know the price of all these, but I think the Crusader is the cheapest and is by far the fastest and probably the best of the three. Then I have the Cromwell 5. This is going to see an up tier to 3.3, which does kind of hurt it a little bit. It does use the 75mm gun. That was, well, it used the 57mm gun, but they bored it out to 75mm to use American ammunition. So you have the M61 shot, which doesn't have any sort of post-pen damage. It's just a solid shot round. It's basically the American Sherman gun, but without explosive filler in it for some reason. It's pretty decent. The main selling point, of course, it's got 4 rockets on it. You can't really aim these because it is just welded fixed. But if it does hit an enemy tank, it is going to kill them. But in terms of practicalness, it's not really usable. Then have the AC1. This uses the same 40mm quick firing 2-pounder gun. At 3.0 it's starting to lose its effectiveness though. 90mm of pen at 3.0 is pretty bad, and in an up tier to 4.0 it's just abysmal. The Ram 2, we saw this in the American tech tree, but now just in the British one, uses the 57mm 6-pounder with 120mm of pen. Very, very good gun, fast firing with a 4-second reload rate with an ace crew. You can also pair it alongside the Sherman 2, which is one of the only British vehicles that does get APHE with the M61. If you are going to get a talisman for rank 2 in the British, I'd get the Sherman 2, or maybe the Crusader 3 or the Crusader 2. This thing has, again, the 6-pounder gun, 57mm. Very, very good power output with that vehicle. Moving on to rank 3, and we have the Achilles. This is a very good vehicle, but I'm not sure if you can get it anymore. Basically just a 17-pounder gun on a American hull. You have the Shot Mark 8, which can penetrate 190mm of penetration, which at batter rating 3.3 is insanely good. It's just let down a little bit by the poor turret traverse, which can be... you can make it work by just not being aggressive in the vehicle. The Excelsior is incredibly rare. I don't think I've ever seen one of these in game actually, so probably not even going to buy it. Churchill Crocodile, obviously on the marketplace. Very expensive actually for what it is. Just a flamethrower version of a crocodile, of a Churchill, sorry. Pretty decent grounder though. We also have the Overlord pack. You got the Sherman Firefly is very, very good. It's a very, very good vehicle, the Sherman Firefly, but the Avenger's pretty mid and the Crusader is just dog shit. If you can get the Sherman Przenk, whatever it's called, it's the Polish Sherman. Very, very good gun. Basically a Firefly with the Shot Mark 8 again, 190mm of penetration, but this is at 4.7, whereas the Achilles is obviously 3.3, and they both use the same gun and same ammunition. Then have the 5.3 lineup, which is probably one of my favourite in the entire game. You've got the Comet Iron Duke. This is only available on the Gaijin marketplace, but you do get a very, very good gun with the Sabo round as well as the Shot Mark 8 again. This is basically a 17-pounder that has been cut down into a shorter barrel, which created the 77mm OQF, Ordnance Quick Firing, I believe it's called. Same thing for the AC4, same gun again, cut down, Shot Mark 8, I believe. No, that's actually the actual long-barreled 17-pounder, sorry. So 5.3 lineup for the British, it's very, very good, especially if you have the TOG 2 from that event a couple of years ago. Don't know if you can buy this actually, I'm not sure. But these 4 vehicles here, the QF37, also on the marketplace, very, very good at 5.3, which does define the mid-tiers of Britain, especially considering you've got the Bosvark as well as the Tech Tria, Challenger and Comet. So you've got a choice really for rank 3 in Britain. You can either stick at 5.3 because all 4 of these vehicles are pretty decent. The Comet is obviously the best of the 5.3 vehicles, but it's also the most expensive. 4.7, if you can get this Sherman, very, very good, well worth it. If not, this pack, it is pretty decent, but these 2 vehicles are kind of 3rd, 4th spawns. The Sherman Firefly is going to be like your first, and then maybe bring like the Tech Tree Sherman Firefly for your 2nd spawn, or just get a talisman for the Comet. Both of these vehicles are fantastic. We then move on to rank 4, and we have up first the Stridsvorden 81. Pretty sure you can no longer get this anymore, but if they do, I don't think they'll ever would bring it back, but it is a good vehicle. The Black Prince, again, I don't think you can get it. It is, maybe they bring it back like once a year or something, maybe, but it's kind of the 17-pounder gun on a Churchill chassis, so you get a big bump up in firepower with 190mm of penetration. You also get the APDS found on the Comets, but again, it is batter rating 6.0 in a Churchill, so you've got absolutely dog shit armor, dog shit mobility, and the gun is pretty mid, especially considering we first got that 17-pounder at 3.3 on the Achilles, starting to show its age a little bit on the Black Prince. We also have the Centurion Mark II. This was an event vehicle for the Battle Pass quite a few years ago. Basically the same 17-pounder on a Comet hull. The early Centurions, not a Comet hull, sorry, the Centurion hull. The early Centurions used the 17-pounder, then they went to the 20-pounder before going to the 105mm, as we'll cover shortly. Speaking of which, we have the Centurion Action X, or the Action 10, I'm not sure what the actual proper name is, but this does use the 24 or 20-pounder 84mm gun. Shot Mark 1 has 239mm penetration, and the Sabo has 385. These are very, very good tanks. But this thing used to be 6.7 back in the day, but now it's gone up to 7.7, mainly because Germans and Soviet mains were complaining about the gun stabilizer. I think at 7.7 they're a little bit over tiered. They should be 7.3 really, especially considering the FE4202 is 7.3, but it has the exact same gun and ammunition, but somehow has a lower batter rating, even though it's lower to the ground and has better angled armor. But who knows why Gaijin balances things the way they do. But it does have a pretty decent lineup at 7.7. You've got the Elan 90, you've got the Mark III Tech Tree version, 402 as I said. I think of all four, the Action 10 is the only one you can actually still buy, so you're kind of forced to buy that one, but it is a very good vehicle. For a talisman, obviously Centurion Mark 3 is going to be your best choice. The Centurion Mark 1, not really that good, and you kind of want to stay at 7.7 for that lineup. Moving on to rank 5, again, I'm not really sure if any of these can be bought anymore. I think they removed the Avery, and the Centurion Mark 5/1 was a event vehicle only purchasable on the Gaijin marketplace now. The Avery obviously has a massive 165mm meme gun. Used to be pretty good fun for trolling people and smashing them, but because the Centurions have now gone up to 7.7, it's kind of lost its lineup. You don't have like a 7.0 lineup anymore, so it's kind of pointless to play it. The Centurion Mark 5/1, it gets additional add-on armor to the upper hull, which does give you pretty good protection. You do have that reliable gun stabilizer as well as a 20-pounder gun as well. But again, this is on the Gaijin marketplace for like 70 Gaijin coins, where it is too expensive to recommend. In terms of talismans, I would go with the Conqueror if you can get to it, because you can also use the Conqueror alongside the Action 10 and the Centurion Mark 3. For some reason, the Centurion Mark 10 with the 105mm gun is at battle rating 8.0 for some reason. Basically, that gun stabilizer is doing all of the justification for these much higher battle ratings. I don't really know why they're so high. This thing used to be 7.0 and used to fight King Tigers. King Tiger can punch straight through that as well, by the way. It's just that gun stabilizer. So for rank 5, there's not really much choice, to be honest. It's just like a talisman on the Conqueror, I think. Rank 6, you've got a little bit more choice and the British stat to get a little bit better. We have the Vijayanta, which is a Indian variant of the Vickers Mark III. It's slightly different, I believe. The Vijayanta has it uses the American ammunition for the APDS, which means you have much better angled penetration, I believe. It also gets Hesh as well as Heat of S as well, which pretty decent little tank, but it doesn't have a gun stabilizer, sorry. But 8.3, it's a nice little vehicle, but it is overshadowed by some of the other vehicles we have. We also have the Shot Caldelet. I don't think you can get this anymore because it is now exclusively in the Israeli tech tree. The best choice for rank 6 is probably going to be the Khalid. I'm not sure whether this is Golden Eagle Premium. I'm pretty sure it is, but it is well worth the money. You've got a very, very good gun with the L23 Sabo round, and you've got like a 1300 horsepower engine or something. Well, 1217 horsepower engine. Very, very fast tank at battle rating 9.3. And again, you avoid that 10.7 lineup now, so you barely see any up tiers at all, making it very, very comfy for grinding, especially alongside the VFM5, the Elephant Mark II, and the Chieftain Mark 10. And I do believe we are getting a Chieftain 900 in the near future. The last premium at rank 6 is the Ruikat 105. Like the Soviet BMD-4M, I don't think there's any reason to up tier your lineup to 9.7 just for a little bit better gun. So if you use this tank, you would be facing the 10.7s quite a lot because they are pretty dominant in the meta. So just get the Khalid, stick at 9.3, it's going to be a lot better for grinding. In terms of talismans at rank 6, there's not really any standout features. The Chieftain Mark III is pretty decent at 8.7, but I think just spend a bit more money and get the Khalid is probably the better choice in my opinion. At rank 7, the no-brainer is going to be the Challenger DS. This is a very good pack premium for the British. You get that L26 round. Very, very good Sabo for the British. Basically the same as 3BM42 Mango found on the Soviet vehicles. It's got reliable armor, okay mobility, but yeah, 10.7 for the British. Easy choice. You've got the Bishma, you've got the two Tech Tree Challenger 2s, both of which get L26. I think this thing gets it. Oh, this one doesn't get L26, but it does get L23A1, which is pretty decent anyway. You also have the TTD as well as the Vickers Mark 7, all of which are fantastic vehicles at battle rating 10.7. Again, because so many top tier premiums have recently been moved up to 12.0, 10.7 gets barely any up tiers now, so 10.7 is the way to go for rank 7 of the British Tech Tree. But we do have the Challenger 2 OES. This is one of the rare top tier premiums that hasn't been moved up to 12.0, and that is because it isn't particularly that good in my opinion, and probably Gaijins as well, to be honest. We've got a nice little Christmas camouflage here for some reason. So very, very good protection wise, well in theory, but it's very, very heavy. It doesn't really have a great engine in it. It's got a good gun, good firepower, good optics, good thermals, but it's just not up to the task really. Just stick at 10.7 with the Challenger DS and the 10.7 lineup. It's going to be a much better experience for the average player. Speaking of talismans though, Challenger Mark 3, Challenger Mark 2, obvious choices. Vickers Mark 7, again, obvious choice. Leopard 2A4 hull with a Vickers turret. That's pretty much it for the British. We then move on to the Japanese tech tree, and first we have the Haigo Commander. I don't really know much about these Japanese vehicles, so I can't really give that much in-depth knowledge. I haven't bought it, so obviously I've never played it, but it's a pretty low tier premium, not really worth it in my opinion. Same for the Rogo. The low tier Japanese stuff just isn't really that appealing to me at all. It just kind of looks like World War I crap. A good vehicle though is the Hachi. I don't know if you can get this anymore, but it does kind of seal club massively in like event. Because this is an event vehicle, you can use it for grinding out like the challenges that come around every few months, and you can just kind of seal club massively in this thing. I'd skip rank 1 altogether for a talisman, sorry. Going on to rank 2, you have the Hicha shotgun. This is a massive 120mm howitzer type thing. Very low muzzle velocity, only 290 meters per second, and it basically just a high explosive shell. Not really worth it for grinding. We have the Chihi. This is a pretty decent vehicle, to be honest. 47mm gun with somewhat usable ammunition, 77mm of penetration with 20 grams of TNT filler. It's pretty decent at 2.7. I don't really play it enough though, to be honest, to give you an opinion on it. I kind of skipped this. The Chinu 2, this has got a very decent gun, but I'm not sure if you can even get this tank anymore. You've got basically like 6 inches of amp penetration at 4.3 with very good post-pen damage as well, 80 grams of TNT filler. I'm not really sure which is the better of these. You've got slightly worse pen but more HE filler in the Type 1. I don't think you can even get it, but it is a good vehicle. I used to play it quite a bit. For a talisman in rank 3, nothing really sticking out to me. Maybe the Type M44, but it's kind of like the point. It's kind of like the nation before you go on to the American vehicles, which kind of are better in every way. So rank 4 for the Japanese, you've got the, well, imported heavy tank number 6. I think this was smuggled into Japan like on a U-boat or something like that, or like a transport or something. It's pretty decent at 6.0. Not really got a massive lineup for it though. You've obviously got the M4A3, but everything else is like 6.3, and it's not worth playing it at 6.3 in my opinion. Again, you are going to get up tiers quite a bit. It's only on the marketplace as well, and it's pretty expensive, like 80 Gaijin coins. Whole road prototype, not worth it at all. Big, heavy, slow. Decent gun, but it's not really suitable for grinding. For a talisman, probably the M4A3 is a pretty decent choice, but even that's pretty dog shit. I think the STA3 is actually quite good. I think it gets a auto loader, if I believe correctly, which is pretty decent in the back of the turret. Auto loading, maybe not, yeah, automatic loading. It's got pretty decent ammunition as well. I think you get the heat shell. That's probably one of the most slept on vehicles in the game, STA3. I haven't played it that much though, to be perfectly honest with you. Japanese tech tree isn't really good until you get to the top tier, to be honest. So no one, like I don't come back and grind any of this stuff out. For rank 5, I don't have either, but the Type 74 Red Star is the best choice if you do really want to get a rank 5 premium. Basically just a 105mm gunslinger with the M392A2. It's pretty decent. It's a lot better than the Type 75 MLRS, but none of them are pretty decent, to be honest. Same for the talisman, nothing really worth getting in rank 5. For rank 6, you have 2 good vehicles. I don't know if you can get the Type 74 anymore, but it's basically just a modernised version of the Type 74, except this one now gets a thermal imager, as well as the Type 93 Sabo round, which I believe is DM23, maybe? I don't think it's DM30, it could be DM33, I can't quite remember. In comparison, the Type 16 is a 8x8 wheeled chassis. It only gets DM23. Okay, well this one is obviously DM33 then, if it's got 405 motors of penetration. But this gets very advanced 3rd gen or 2nd gen thermals, I believe, whereas this only gets 1st gen. So it depends what your playstyle is really. If you're a slow and steady player, this is probably better. If you like going off an adventure and rushing, then the Type 16 is the better option. Because both tanks are battle rating 9.3, you could take these out alongside the Stingray, which is a pretty decent lineup, as well as the other Type 16 prototype. For a talisman, maybe the Stingray is the best choice, but I doubt it will be on, no, it's not on sale obviously, but it's only in the last update. There's not really any talisman there standing out to me, to be honest. Moving up to rank 7, we have the Type 90B Fuji. Pretty decent vehicle. It's only got 1st gen thermals, but it does have the DM33 round with 481mm of penetration out of the 120mm gun. For a talisman, again, it's quite hard really. 11.7, you are going to see up tiers to top tier, which is a little bit brutal, so you might want to just stick with the Type 16 or the Type 74 and grind out the majority that way, rather than the much more brutal 11.7 matchmaker. But yeah, Japan is kind of hard to get into and grind because all the vehicles at the start are pretty crap. It's only really good when you get to the Type 10 and the TKX, and even then, you are lacking light tanks and air defense pretty much. So the Chinese, we start off with a T26. This is again kind of like one of those vehicles that they were given in the 1930s. Not really worth it in my opinion. When China was first added, you could pre-order the M4A4 first PTG. Don't know if you can buy this anymore, but it is well worth the money if you can buy it. At 3.7 you can take it out with the M4A4 Tetri version, the M24, and then a few other vehicles as backup, which gives you a pretty good starter lineup for the Chinese. You have also the M3A3 first PTG again, basically just a Stuart light tank, but I haven't bought this because I already have the M4A4, which kind of redundant, but both of which are pretty good vehicles at 2.7. You've got quite a lot of 2.3 and 2.7 vehicles in China as well, so either one of these is a good choice. If you are going to talisman anything in rank 2, M4A4 all day of the week. Rank 3 we have the M41A3. Doesn't get access to any advanced ammunition, just the AP-BC. It's alright, but it's quite a high battle rating, 5.7 for this, mainly because it's kind of small and sneaky, but I don't think I've ever played this. I've still got 33 repairs on it. I think I just got it when it was on really high discount for some reason. If you were going to grind out the Chinese at rank 3, I'd just get a talisman for both the T34 and the M4A1. Just stick at 4.0 with those two bad boys and you should see you through. You can basically just grind up to all the way up to rank 7.7 with a 4.0 vehicle. You're probably better just buying them two instead of that, to be honest. If you do get talismans for these two, you can also run this thing with it and grind pretty much all the way to rank 4 like that. But anyway, moving on, we have the M64. This was an event vehicle. You can get it on the marketplace, not really worth it. Basically just a Hellcat with different skin. Then have the T3485. Again at 5.7, you are going to see upties to 6.7 quite a bit. And for that reason, I'd kind of just give it a skip. Same for the IS2 number 402. Not really worth it in my opinion. The Chinese do get quite a rare T34 in rank 4, which is the Guy, which has a dusk on the roof, which is a kind of rare, but that is neither here nor there. I do have a talisman for the M16, or M18, sorry, but this was when they first came out, and it's kind of been overshadowed a little bit. Nothing here is really worth a talisman in my opinion. Moving up to rank 5, we have the ZTZ59A, basically just a T54. But it does get a gun stabilizer, I believe. Only a vertical stabilizer, but it is pretty good. You get a very good AP-HE round, the 412D, same as we saw on the T-34-100, as well as several other 100mm armed Soviet guns. Do also get a Sabo and Heatfest as well, which does give you a slight benefit over the Soviet equivalent T-54s. I have some googly eyes in it for some reason. Very, very slept on tank this. I'm not sure if you can still get it, but it's well worth the money on half price. You also have the Type 69-2A. I don't know what the difference is between all these vehicles, but this one is slightly more modernised. Got a 2-point gun stabiliser, as well as a little bit... Oh, it's the same AP-HE round, as well as the Heat and Sabo. I think the main difference with this is you get a laser rangefinder. I don't know if you get it on this one. You do get a laser rangefinder, but I have both these vehicles. I'm not sure why this is 8.3 and this is 8.0. I'm guessing that this one just gets 2-point gun stabilizer, which makes it better somehow. In terms of talismans and lineups though, 8.0 and 8.3, very, very good at rank 5. You've got lots of vehicles to go with it. You've got the Type 59 and the 69s. You've got the WZ305 with its proxy fuse warhead rounds, which are insane against helicopters. Moving up to rank 6, and we have... Well, I say free, but I don't think you can get this anymore. This was the pre-order starter pack for the Chinese Tetri. It's just a T62 with 545 wrote on the side of it. That makes it unique somehow in Gaijin's mind. You then have the WMA301. This thing has a slightly nerfed Sabo round, only 338mm of penetration. But in the Tetri version, the PLT02 gets a... Oh, maybe they've given it the same shell now. 381. Pretty sure it didn't used to get... the same shell. Yeah, so this one has a slightly nerfed shell, sorry, compared to the Tetri equivalent, but it's still very fast with a good gun. Very, very good thermal images as well. We also have the Type 69-2G. This thing does get a mediocre Sabo round in the form of the Type 83, 352mm of penetration. It's pretty decent, to be honest. Typically though, I don't really like 9.0 for the Chinese. I tend to go to 9.3 with the CM11, the TTS, as well as the ZCZ96. I think I did have a test drive of this recently and it is pretty good at 9.3. But I'd say the WMA 301 is a pretty good choice. You can use it in an up tier up to 10.3, as we'll see when we get up to rank 7. But it is quite hard to learn how to use it. The gun depression is pretty terrible, so it can catch you out a bit flat-footed in certain cases. But in terms of talismans, the M60A3 TTS is very, very slept on, especially considering it now gets the M33 and thermals and a stabilizer as well. It's a very, very good tank at 9.0. A lot of people don't really respect it and kind of just rush it and then get blown away. We then move on to rank 7, and up first we have the ZTC 96A prototype. It's got the Storer Dazzler system that you find on the T90. Doesn't really work against anything, but kind of cool. Also has a pretty decent saber round with 466mm of penetration, kind of similar to the 3BM42 Mango found on the Soviet guns at 10.3 as well. Kind of been overshadowed recently by the Alkaleid. It's kind of a toss-up really. This thing has a decent lineup at 10.3 alongside the ZBD04A, for example, as well as the Tech-Tree ZTZ96A. The difference is that the Alkaleid is just better in every way. It is at 11.7, which does mean it is a little bit harsher to play with, but this thing has incredibly good thermal imager, a fantastic saber round, 577mm of penetration. It's also got a fantastic lineup. If you look at this thing, it's just absolutely busted lineup. This thing is great cast playing. You've got a helicopter with basically Chinese copy and paste Hellfire missiles. Got the MBT 2000, which is basically the same tank with slightly worse thermal optics. Then you've just got like a bunch of other vehicles that are absolutely fantastic at 11.7. The Alkaleid's more expensive and is a pack premium, which might go on sale, but I'm pretty sure the ZTZ96 might be pack sale, might be a Golden Eagle premium. Both of these tanks are worth it though at half price. It's just up to you which you prefer. I prefer the Alkaleid because it's got a lot better thermal imager, but I've been playing War Thunder quite a while and I do know the maps. 10.3 might be a little bit better for newer players, but... So for talismans, I'd probably go for the ZBD04A. I probably wouldn't talisman this. I know I have, but the thermal imager on this is pretty terrible, so it's nowhere near as good as the Alkaleid. Kind of like the Japanese, the lower ranks of the Italians haven't seen much love from me. I don't really know much about these little vehicles. The L6040, I don't have it. M3040, played this quite a lot in Enlisted, but not really played it in War Thunder. Kind of don't really seem worth it to me, but for 200 and 125 Golden Eagles, can't really go wrong. M40 or M1441, I'd probably just skip this one and go for Soleri. This thing is comically flat, very, very low to the ground. It's got a kind of like a pop gun on it though, 47mm gun with decent penetration, 62mm, only really going to be challenging the side of enemy players there. But at 2.7, it's certainly workable. It's a fun little tank. Probably would completely skip talismaning anything from ranks 1 and 2 in this tech tree though. Where the Italians really shine though is going to be battle rating 3.7. You've got the Sherman Composite, you've got the Panzer 4G. Both of these are absolutely fantastic vehicles. It's a shame that you can't get the Stug at 4.0, but you can get the 9053. And as well, I do believe you get a T34 somewhere if I can find it. Or I'm maybe thinking of the Swedish tech tree, but you do get the Sherman 5, which is basically just a M4A2 or something. And you also get the M24 Chaffee as well. So 3.7, the Sherman Composite and the Panzer 4G. I don't know if you can get these anymore, but they are well worth the money. They're both rank 3 as you can see, so you can use it for easily grinding out the events. Just grind out an event at 3.7 for the Italians. Very, very good money makers, very, very good grinders. Well worth the money in my opinion. The Zerini and the Breeder were both event vehicles, probably available on the Gaijin store, but not worth it if you can get the Sherman on the Panzer 4G. For a talisman, either go for the Sherman 5 or the M24, both of which are fantastic, but the Sherman is obviously the better choice, better all-rounder. For rank 4, we have several choices. The M26 DC Arete, I don't believe is available, and even if it is available, it's complete dog shit, so just don't buy it. The Tigris is better, obviously just a Hungarian Tiger. Same pros and negatives, but this one does have a pretty decent lineup with the S2S1, the Leopard 4020, or 4070, sorry, the M18, and the R3. This thing used to be 3.7, do you remember that? This thing has absolutely dropped off, but yeah, the Tigris is alright, but you do see some quite harsh up tiers. Moving up to rank 5, and the Panzer Habitzer 2000 HU, not worth it at all for a premium. I think I just bought it to review it and then couldn't be bothered playing it. The M60A1 DC Arete, this is a very, very old premium in War Thunder. It did used to have a gun stabilizer, but then they removed it and it caused quite a bit of a hoo-ha back in the day. I haven't played this in ages. And then finally the Orbal HVG. Got a high velocity gun in the form of a 60mm gun. I think it's got like 300mm of pen or something like that. Well, 249. It's not really worth it. It's unstabilized gun at 8.0. You kind of just like run around. Rank 5 for the Italians is pretty rough though. The OF40 and the Leopard 182 are both pretty good choices though. The OF40 I don't think gets a SAKO, but it does get heat, which is pretty decent. Whereas the Leopard 182 I believe also doesn't get a proper SAKO, but it does get DM13. Not particularly amazing though. You then move on to rank 6, which has some fantastic vehicles. The first is the OF40 MTCA. I don't think you can get this, but if it does ever come back on sale for like an event or like a anniversary sale, this thing is definitely worth the money. This is by far the best vehicle at rank 6 for the Soviets. The OF40 MTCA in combination with the T-72M1, the Leopard 1A5, as well as the Centauro 105 is by far the best 9.3 lineup possibly in the game. Maybe not the most flushed out, but very, very good. Like the BMD 4M, I wouldn't really recommend the VRCC. It's not worth up tiering the lineup to 9.7 where you can see the 10.7 up tiers. Does get DM33 though. It's up to you. It's a much better vehicle obviously than the OF40, but because the 9.3 battery rating means you never see up tiers really, I think in terms of actually grinding, the OF40 is a much better choice. If you are going to talisman a vehicle, Leopard 1A5, T-72M1, Centauro 105, all fantastic choices in my opinion. But again, I would just avoid 9.7 like the plague at the minute because you just get up to 10.7. We then have two premiums for the Italians at 11.7. We have the Centauro RGO as well as the Ariete Cerveza. I don't know how to pronounce Italian words. The Ariete gets DM53 as standard, which is very, very nice, 620mm of penetration. I believe the Centauro gets the CL3143, which gets slightly less penetration, but it's still very, very good. Obviously, this has got no armor but high speed. This has got no speed but, well, also no armor, to be honest with you. It's an Ariete. It's got barely any composite. I wouldn't really recommend these, to be perfectly honest with you, unless you really want to grind the AMV or the Leopard 2A7HU. This thing just isn't worth it. This thing is worth it, but you probably better just putting a talisman on the Leopard 2A4 to be honest and grinding it at the 10.7 lineup. The Italians is one of the only nations without a 10.7 premium, which is quite strange. I imagine they will get a Leopard 2A4 eventually because every nation is getting a premium Leopard 2A4 recently. The Ariete prototype is also very, very good at 10.7, well worth a talisman. It's the only 10.7 vehicle I believe that gets DM33, at least in a main battle tank form. So you don't have much armor, but you do have a very, very good gun. 120mm DM33 firing at 10.7 is very, very good. Also have the Fresher, which has 8 spike missile, or 10 spike missiles now, sorry. Very, very good for a talisman at 10.7. We then come on to the French. Up first we have the H39 Cambrone. That sounds Italian more than French, but don't really know anything about it. I'd skip this. I'd also skip the AMD one because it's abysmal crap. Then have the 2C Beast. This thing has a massive 155mm howitzer type gun, firing high explosive, capable of 63mm of penetration, which is good enough to kill most of the vehicles you come across, but it's obviously a massive vehicle and it's pretty expensive for what it is, so I'd probably just skip it altogether, to be honest. Then move on to rank 2 and you have the B1 Tur. This was it's a pretty decent vehicle, but it's quite slow and chunky. It's actually quite hard to kill these things. Most people will kind of panic and try and shoot your turret to try and knock out your gun. Obviously shooting it here is just going to kill it easily, but they do look kind of weird, to be honest. The LVT 4040, this thing was busted as hell when it was first introduced, but it has largely been nerfed into the ground now. I think it was 2.7 when they was initially introduced, where it could just basically low pen anything it came across. Also at 3.7 we have the AMX13 M24. It's an AMX13 hull with an M24 Chaffee turret on it for some reason. It's strange looking, kind of looks pretty bad. It's kind of mobile. I haven't really played it, I don't think. I still have 33 repairs on it, so I can't really give my opinion on it. In terms of talisman though, I'd highly recommend putting a talisman on both the Crusader Mark II as well as the AMD 35. This is a German, well, I think it's a French vehicle with a German gun on it, but this is a very, very good cannon for the battle rating of 2.7. And then the Crusader has that 40mm quick firing pom-pom. Very, very good gun as well at 2.7. You could also get the M4A1, but I feel like these two vehicles at 2.7 is a much better choice, especially if you get the B1 Tur as well. For rank 3 we only have one premium, which is the M4A1 FL10. This is a premium with an oscillating turret. Very, very good. It used to be an absolute boy back in the day. It only gets AP BC, but 182mm of penetration with a 5-second autoload, I believe, with a 6-round ready rack, is it? Or is it a 12-round ready rack? Very, very good vehicle. It's kind of been, it used to be battle rating 4.7, I believe, where it was very well with the M4A4 SA50. I think it is still pretty decent at 5.0 though, because you can go straight through the front of a Tiger 1 with ease pretty much, as long as you don't hit the stupid add-on armor tracks. So the M4A1 FL10, I think I would recommend it, to be honest. It is a good fun, or at least it was. Played the absolute crap out of this back in the day. Talisman, the M4A4 SA50, very, very powerful gun, but quite a long reload. 202mm of penetration, just under 8 inches of armor. The M4A4 at 3.7 is also pretty good, especially if you did purchase either of the AMX13 or the LVT4/40. Moving up to rank 4, we have the Panzer Dauphine. I believe I have some gay camouflage on this from back in the day. Gooner pilled, not played that in ages. Just a 6.0 Panther, obviously, very, very good vehicle, but do see quite a bit of up tiers. Then have the EBR 1954. I think this thing, when it was introduced, was like 5.7 or something like that, but it's kind of been nerfed into the ground by consecutive battle rating increases. It's basically just it's just like a wheelie boy with a 75mm gun. It's got the same gun, I think, or same shell at least, as the SA50 found here, but at 7.0 it is quite... They give it a high battle rating because it's fast, basically, which I don't really think is a great way of balancing a vehicle. You also have the AMX13 SS11. This is just an AMX13 with the anti-tank missiles on it. The missiles are keyboard guided, not mouse guided, which means you do have to aim them with your WASD keys, which does make it pretty painful to actually use these, especially considering the missiles are pretty inaccurate to begin with. If you can afford it, then the M46 is probably one of the better ways to grind out the French tech tree. This is basically the M46 Tiger that we saw in the American tech tree. It was a reward for the event vehicle last battle pass, I believe, and it is on the Gaijin marketplace now for like 40 Gaijin coins. It's quite expensive for what it is. You're probably better getting something on sale here, but at 7.0 it does give you a pretty good lineup with the EBR as well as the AMX13, as well as the M4, as well as the AMX13 as well. Moving on to rank 5, the Sommoir at 7.7 is largely been overshadowed, but it is still a pretty decent vehicle, but I probably wouldn't get this anymore. This thing's an event vehicle, it's pretty dog shit. Same as the earlier EBR, but it gets a heater fast shell. Not entirely sure why it's at a higher battle rating. I think the solid shot is much better, much more reliable, and it's also a higher muzzle velocity. Then also have the Clovis in the French tech tree, we've already covered it in the German one. Laser rangefinder, pretty decent, 101.02 kilo bursting charge with that heat round. Pretty overall decent vehicle. Then also have the AMX30. Again, this has a heat shell with 400mm of penetration, sorry. In terms of a tech tree equivalent, you've got the DF105, basically the exact same gun on a Marder hull, I believe. I'm not entirely sure actually, but France around this battle rating is kind of crap. I don't like it at all. Moving on to rank 6, we have the AMX30 Super. I believe you can still get this, but it's the only tank around this battle rating that gets a gun stabilizer as well as thermals and a sabot. I do think they did add the AMX32, didn't they? So it's not the only tank, but it used to be the only tank in the French tech tree that had a stabilizer, and it was a premium, which, as you imagine, did lead to a lot of controversy at the time. It's still a pretty decent tank in my opinion. It's very fast, but it's got quite a slow turret traverse, which makes it quite awkward to play. But I'd highly recommend it over the VBCI2. Again, 9.7 tank means it does see up tiers. 9.3 tanks are just living the dream at the minute. One of the downsides though is that 9.3 for the French is a little bit meager. You get the AMX32 105, which is okay. The 32 by itself, the 120 version, is 9.7 and therefore not really worth playing. We can take along the Santal for air defense, as well as the Mephisto for anti-tank guided missiles, Dakra for a bit more air defense, but you also have the VBCI, so this thing is actually very good. I'd highly recommend talismaning this if you're a decent player. Very, very fast, very, very good 25mm auto gun. And then finally for rank 7 we have the Leopard 2A4 OTO or OTCO. Basically again just a Leopard 2A4 with DM23 and first gen thermals. Pretty decent little tank, again nothing unique really about it. Very good lineup for the French though. You got the other Leopard 2A4 here, you got the Vextra, You've got the new MSC, which you can take up to 11.0. Probably would risk it, to be honest, but you can get up to 12.0 if you play this. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do, really. I do typically just tend to take it at 10.7. In terms of a talisman, obviously the Leopard 2A4 is literally the exact same as this, but not premium. You can save yourself a bit of money doing the same thing. I also have a talisman on the Vextra, which is very good at 10.0. But I believe this thing used to be 9.7 when I talismaned it, and then he moved it up to 10.0, and it's still a very, very good backup vehicle. It's got a very good shell, the G2 round with 445mm of pen, and it has very wide optics, and I believe it's got second gen thermals as well, so it's a very good vehicle, but obviously not really a firstborn, especially on like the more urban maps. Then come on to the Swedish, and we have several vehicles again that I haven't really bought, so I don't really know much about them. We have the Stridsvorden M39, don't really know anything about it, but probably skip it. The Pabil M40, this is an event vehicle, not really worth it. T26E, I think it's got slightly better armour, but again, a little pop gun. I'd just skip it, to be honest. Don't know what this thing is, kind of looks like a Czech PZ38T. Maybe the Swedish imported a 38T before the war, and they just kind of modernised it or something. Probably gets a short stabiliser, I guess, which may... No, it doesn't, so maybe not worth it at all. IKV73, this was an event vehicle back in the day. Pretty good gun, I believe, but kind of funky looking. Things that people sleep on for talismans: BT42, the where is it? This thing is absolutely busted. It gets the late war thingy shell. Where is it? This thing with semi-armor piercing, 68mm of pen with a semi-armor piercing round, which then bursts inside the enemy's crew and kills them all pretty quick. There is also one other vehicle which I'm trying to find, which is absolutely busted. I think it's this thing actually. It's gone up in battle rating recently. Anywho, moving on to rank 3, we have the Sav. This, I believe, isn't available, but it was the pre-order access pack to get the closed beta of the Swedish tank tech tree, I believe. Very, very high rate of fire. It reloads every 1.2 seconds, but it does have a somewhat meager APHE shell for 3.7, 95mm of pen. But it does have 890 grams of explosive filler, which is obviously insane for post-pen damage. We then have the good old-fashioned Sherman 3.4. This is by far the best choice for a rank 3 premium for the Swedish. You can pair this very well with the Panzer IV in this folder here. You used to be able to take out the T34, but it has recently been updated to 4.0, which did ruin it a little bit. Again, like in the French tech tree or the Italian tech tree, you can use this Sherman to grind out the events because it is a rank 3 vehicle, which does improve its usability quite dramatically. If you are going to get a talisman, maybe get the Panzer IV, even the cheeky Comet at 5.3, which is still pretty good as well, and also avoids the 6-7 up tiers. You don't really have much for rank 4 because the Königstiger is all that you get. This is only available on the Gaijin marketplace. It's a pretty decent vehicle, but it's pretty expensive. I'll probably just give it a skip. I'd also pretty much skip everything in rank 4 in terms of talisman wise because nothing really stands out. Going up to rank 5, we have the Stridsvorden 81. This is the one that we covered in the British tech tree. It has been moved. It's a pretty decent vehicle. You get the 20-pounder gun with that fantastic Sabo and solid shot round with 240mm of penetration. Pretty decent tank, but at 7.7 it's kind of been left behind in the meta really. The main strength of the Swedish tech tree is going to be at battle rating 9.3 once again in the form of the Leopard 1A5. This thing gets DM33, giving you 420mm of penetration in that 105mm gun. Like the Italian and the German tech tree, you also have the fantastic T72M1 as backup, as well as the Stridsvorden 105, which is a highly modernised Centurion, as well as the 30mm 90-30 Fin. Again, I wouldn't recommend going up to battle rating 9.7, which is why the Leopard 1A5 is a much better choice over the CV9035, which is 9.7, and I will see up tiers to 10.7 very frequently. For a rank 6 talisman, the T72M1 is by far the best choice. It's got good survivability, good gun, it's better than the Stridsvorden 105 in every way, to be honest, and I like playing this tank quite a lot. At battle rate, at rank 7, we have two choices again. You have the Christian 2 as well as the CV90 105. The 105 and the Christian 2 both complement each other. I believe they're both pack premiums as well, so they might go on sale. The 90 105 is better on the wider open maps because it is faster and has much better thermal imager. It also gets better firepower because it has DM33, giving you much better actual penetration. The Christian 2 is a Leopard 2A4, meaning it gets first gen thermals which are quite fuzzy, and does only have the meager DM23. But because of the composite armour, the Christian 2 is better for more urban maps with tight corners and brawling fights. So it's hard to say which one of these premiums is better. If you have one and you've been looking at getting the other one to complement it for quite a while, this may be a good opportunity when it goes on sale. But both of these premiums are very good. The Christian 2 is probably the better all-rounder for pretty much the average player. The CV9105 is kind of quite niche, but it is highly mobile with a very good gun. And finally we come on to the Israelis. My voice is absolutely killing me now, so we're going to try and get through this without dying. Up first we have the M51W. This has got a very potent 105mm gun, with a heat shell capable of 400mm of penetration. Basically the same gun we saw on several of the French premiums just shortly. It's well worth the money in my opinion, especially on a discount if it does go on sale next week. It'll get you through all the way to like 8.0. It's very strong, as you can imagine. 400mm of pen at 6.3. You can bully all the King Tigers, all the Jagdtigers. It's a very good premium. The only downside though is that the reload it's actually it's at 7.5 seconds. That's surprisingly good actually. I take it back. It's actually a very good tank. I did play this quite a bit. I do have 15 free repairs on it, so I've obviously not played it that much, but it did get me through quite a bit of the Israeli tech tree before I moved on to the shotgun, I believe. The Magak 3 ERA, it's basically just an M48 with add-on Blazer or Blazer ERA. Looking very sad here. This is me every time I play Israel, just miserable. It doesn't get a gun stabilizer, but it does get heater fast as well as a M392A2. Don't tend to play 8.0 Israel, but you can get the Shot Cal Aleph. This thing is pretty decent. It gets a fully stabilized gun at battle rating 8.0 with SAKO and heat FS. So it's basically just a 105mm gun with heat FS at 8.0. Very good tank, considering everything else here is unstabilized. Do also have the Magak 5 here, I believe, which is the only rank battle rating 8 vehicle with DM23 equivalent, but it doesn't have a gun stabilizer. So this has a better SAKO. This is stabilized with heater fast. I don't think it gets a laser rangefinder. No, it doesn't. That's the only downside of it. Moving on to rank 6, you have the Shot Cal Delette. This thing gets thermal images, a laser rangefinder, and DM23. I wouldn't really say it's worth it though, boys. 9.0 is pretty brutal. The Shot Cal Gimel, pretty decent. It's the exact same as the Delette, but it doesn't get the thermal imager, which is a little bit more kind to you if you do want to just get a talisman on that vehicle. Other good vehicle for talisman is the Magak Hydra. This thing gets a stabilizer, DM23, as well as obviously Hydra missiles here, which are pretty fun to spray at people as they come around a corner. The last premium though, at rank 6, is the Makarva Mark IID. It's a pretty decent tank. It's not particularly survivable anymore. It does get the DM33 equivalent though, which does give it some very good firepower. It's a little bit lacking though when it comes to lineups. For some reason the Makarva Mark IIBs are battle rating 9.7. The only difference here is that this tank gets slightly better side protection on the turret, which doesn't really make a massive amount of difference, at least to me. I don't really see why it's an extra battle rating high just for that. I wouldn't actually... If this was 9.7 it would be one of the best premiums in the game. But because they've made it 10.7 or 10.0, sorry, it's a little bit. I would recommend getting this over anything else though. The last premium that we're going to be looking at today is the Ram Sagal. This is a Makarva Mark III chassis. I can't remember which model it is though. It basically, two little pinpricks. It's a pretty decent vehicle. It's got the M322 shell, 588mm of penetration. It's got pretty good thermal imager. It's got a good shell, somewhat decent protection, but not amazing. It's not got the best lineup though at 11.3. I suppose you won't be seeing the very top tier MBTs like the T80B VMs, now the 12.7. You're not really going to see them anymore, which I guess is actually a good thing. Well, obviously it's a good thing. I've not played this in a while though. I'll have to take it out again and see what it's like. Probably would say that these two are your best choices though for actually grinding out the entire Israeli tech tree, but the M51 is a very good premium to pick up as well. Also with the Makarva Mark IID, you can take out the Masabra. This thing has an insane SAKO, basically top tier SAKO at 10.0 with, I believe, first gen thermals as well, but it is one of the cursed M60 modernizations, which the Israelis just kind of wouldn't let this tank die, as you can see by all these Galbagak type things. But anyway boys, thank you very much for watching this. If you did make it way to the end of the video, my throat is now on fire from talking for like 3 hours straight. Well, probably not that long, but anyway boys, I'm going to go and edit all this shit together, then have probably a pint of whiskey to drown my sorrows. So yeah lads, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. As always, massive thank you to my YouTube members. Once again boys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.